Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our second meeting in February. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Before we begin, a reminder again to silence or turn off your phones so that we can proceed with the order of business without any undue interruption. And then next, we will have a moment of silence, if you'll join me in that. All right, thank you so much. And now if you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we'll have town staff for any announcements.
Good evening, everybody. Just a few announcements from town staff for you this evening. First up, we have our Main Street project update. So our pedestrian crosswalks remain closed for a redesign, but the traffic signal at Huntersville Concord and Main Street, they are fully operational, so just use caution because those are new. And we'd just like to remind people we have new roundabouts as part of this project, so please just exercise some safety and use them correctly. If you could, just slow down as you approach the roundabout, flow to the right, yield to the traffic already in the roundabout, and if you're already going through the roundabout, please don't stop and keep going. If you miss your exit, just keep going around and come back to it. Next, we have our external agency funding requests. Just a reminder that those applications are due in by March 1st. So if you'd like to make a request, you can find the application on our website at that link, or if you go to our homepage and scroll to our spotlight section under our calendar, it'll be there as well. We'd also like to announce our spring session for Huntersville 101 is coming up and starting on March 13th. We've had about 10 people apply and be accepted. We still have room for more. So if you'd like to take Huntersville 101 for our spring session, you can find the application on our website. And then I'd just like to remind people that our 2024 Parks and Recreation Survey is still live. You can still visit our public input website at that link or go to our homepage on huntersville.org and click the public input button and it'll take you to the survey. And then just a reminder that you can connect with us with a whole bunch of different ways. Visit our website for updates, follow us on social media, and download our app from the App Store. Any questions? Awesome. Thank you all.
Okay, we're going to move on to public comments. And before we begin, I just want to remind anyone who's giving public comments today to avoid duplicative and repetitive comments, that the time allotted to the speaker is maybe extended by the mayor or the mayor pro tem at our sole discretion, to be civil and courteous, to avoid insults, personal attacks, accusations, profanity, vulgar language, inappropriate gestures, inappropriate behavior. That includes slurs, bigotry, defamation, discriminatory remarks, and those that, if that does happen, you may be declared out of order and may be asked to exit the room. So let's just keep that in mind. Also remember to address your comments to the board and to give respect to the speakers, and that includes avoiding laughing, interrupting, or jeering at them as they're speaking. So I appreciate that. So before we begin with public comments, we have a presentation from our District 1 Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education representative, Melissa Easley, and she's going to give us an update on all things CMS.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Town of Huntersville. I have a couple of notes here. So there's two things that I want to speak today on. The first thing I want to talk about is something that's been in the news quite a bit, and that's the ESSER funds. And I just want to make sure that there are some some clear statements being put out there before the rumor mill gets real crazy. So just for anyone that doesn't know, the ESSER funds were intended for federal funds. They were from the federal government to address the needs that arose from COVID-19. These things were very regulated. We could only use them for certain things that were within a nice little box. And some of the things that CMS used these funds for were to lower class sizes, transportation, indoor air quality, purchasing sanitation or sanitizing and cleaning items during the pandemic. But most of what our money is spent on is people, and that is our budget in general, and that was what we spent most of the funds on. So CMS received $190 million through ESSER funds, and $60 million of that was attached to people. So those peoples can include our guest teacher programs, our tutoring programs, after-school tutoring, support staff, other admin support, that were all involved on the school level. So that's what we used our money for, as well as those other things, transportation and sanitation and all those things. But that $60 million was spent on that areas. So with the ESSER fund cliff, as it's been named, we've had to redo how we do some of this. And what we have done over the past couple years, we've known this is coming. This was not a surprise. We knew this money was going to end. It was never a permanent thing. And so we have always planned for this money to end. And we knew almost 2 years ago when I was elected in 2022 that this money was ending in September of 2024. So we knew this was coming. Our plan is not to necessarily eliminate jobs, which is what some of the headlines and some of the things that have been putting out there. We are not eliminating jobs. What we are doing is we are looking at some of our vacancies, and we're redistricting, we're removing, we're realigning responsibilities and changing our pattern around so that we do not have to fire anyone, remove anyone, or anyone could lose their job. Anyone that their job is changing will have a job in CMS. If they choose not to have a job in CMS because they don't like their new position, that will be their choice, not on CMS. So I just want to make that very clear. The example that I like to show, Mayor Clark, is our guest teacher program is going away. That is one of the programs that was used with ESSER funds. The hope is, and the plan is that that guest teacher that has been in the school for over 2 years now, we have a TA position that's open there. And so they would slide into that TA position. If they were a certified teacher, they would slide into a certified teacher position or some other certified position. So we want their job description may be changing, but we'll make sure that we're always going to make sure that we have a position. And basically the bottom line is we have almost 900 positions open that were created, that many positions because of the ESSER funds. Some people got moved into different funding aspects. So once those go away and we go back to our normal funding, which is what we've operated on for over a decade, those positions will actually cut down. We have about 700 positions, 720 positions that we're going to be realigning, relooking at, moving around, and we have about 900 positions that are open. So like I said, everyone that their job is changing will have a position in CMS if they want to. The second thing I want to talk about is where we are in the bond process, since Huntersville has such a huge piece of that. So on the early February, the first February meeting that we had, we discussed the first 4 projects, and the project that was on there was North Meck High School. And we had pre-started that before the bond was passed. And because we knew how that important was, then the county looked at us and said, we know how important this is. We're going to forward you. We're going to extend some grace to you and get you some funding to start that. So we had already started that process. That includes the design of the school, which was already done. That includes some of the pre-work to get our permits and construction and all of those things. So that's where we are at this process. Is North Meck right now is in the process of getting its permits. We're working with the town of Huntersville to make sure that everything is kind of aligned, where the school's going to be, what direction is going to pace, all that kind of thing. So they are working on that right now. Once that is completed, then we will break ground. For a high school, for North Meck High School, it would take 3 years from the moment the shovel goes in to the moment the kids walk in the door. So we're eager to get that done as soon as possible so that we can start our construction, so that we can continue to get our students in there as quickly as possible. I asked at the last board meeting when the next set of projects was going to be released. We have not had that information yet. Mr. Lucaria, Dennis Lucaria, who is in charge of a lot of this, said that they are working with the county right now to get that list on what would be the best way to do this and the most efficient way to do this, and that they would let us know as soon as possible. But at this point, I am incredibly confident that I can say that on the next set of bond, that at least one of the remaining 3 projects in North Meck will be on the next set of lists. So whether that's Cornelius Elementary, Huntersville Elementary, or the new middle school, I'm not sure yet. We hope to have that answer coming soon, now that everything has been passed and we've moved on. We've got our last board meeting, we approved the contracts for our project manager and getting all of those things started. So we are moving quite along. Process is still happening, and I just wanted to update on that. This time, I'd like to, if you guys have any questions or anything, concerns that I can answer.
Any questions, anybody? All right, thank you very much.
Okay, please know that my door is always open. Oh, one more thing. My January newsletter, I put out a newsletter every month, for those that don't know. My January newsletter drops the last day of the month, and it is on all my socials, but if you don't have my social media, you can always shoot me an email. That's melissa.easley@cms.k12.nc.us. I know it's really long. The students one is worse. It's got students in there too, but, and shoot me an email and I can always add you to our list. So my door is always open. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
All right, item 6B is me, so I'm going to come over to the other. So the board and I felt that it was important to honor Black History Month, and so I'm going to read the proclamation that I have signed into our record. Whereas in 1976, Black History Month was formally adopted to honor and affirm the importance of Black history throughout our American experience, which dates thousands of years and includes some of the greatest and most advanced and innovative societies that we can draw inspiration from. And whereas the second week of February was chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, was celebrated by Black people in the United States. And whereas the Huntersville Board of Commissioners takes pride in recognizing February 2024 as Black History Month, celebrating the many notable contributions that people of African descent have made to our community, state, and country. And whereas the omission of much of the history and contributions of Black people from textbooks and other literature has impeded awareness and appreciation. And whereas the celebration of Black History Month is a positive way of recognizing the culture and history of Black people vital to the core beliefs and values of this society. And whereas Black people living and working in Huntersville from the time of legalized slavery to the present day have shown a steadfast determination to live freely and equally and to press the town and the community to make manifest an equitable Huntersville where race is not a determining factor of outcomes. And whereas the contributions of Black people have played significant roles and made lasting contributions to our town's history and the history of our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development, while working tirelessly to contribute to every aspect of American society, including business, education, politics, science, and the arts. Now therefore, I, Christy Clark, Mayor of the Town of Huntersville, on behalf of the citizens, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2024 as Black History Month in the Town of Huntersville and urge all our citizens to observe this month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Thank you. Microphone, public comment period, and first up I have John Foster. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Foster. I'm a resident of Huntersville, North Carolina, and I'm also a small business owner in the town of Huntersville, North Carolina. First of all, I'd like to thank the board and the mayor and the staff for the job that you all diligently do every month. I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about a few things that you guys have accomplished and have done, and some things that you're currently working on. First of all, just the time and energy that you all put in, I want to say that you are to be commended. It's not an easy job, and it's a very time-consuming job, so thank you all for what you do. Also like to thank you for making a very hard decision at the last meeting and approving to move forward with the development of the new town hall behind us here. The previous two boards failed to make the hard decision to go ahead and approve building and constructing a new town hall, which we dearly need. Also, I would like for you all to take a close look, if there is any way possible. I know there was a parking garage that would potentially set to be done at some point down the road, or either done at the same time. When you look at cost of construction, by passing that project down the road for 2 years or 5 years, I think we'd be better off when we look at what it would take to do it now and go ahead and do that. It's obvious we're going to need it. So we just need to really just go ahead and seriously think about doing that at this same time also. In addition to that, the great piece of land that the town owned right in front of Discovery Place Kids, I really hope that we can take a serious look on trying to find a partner to help us develop that piece of land, and also we can control what's going to go there. So take a serious look and see if there is any way possible that we can possibly do that. Thank you all for the hard decision on approving the fire department from being a full-time position. And also remember to do a great job and for us to continue to have the success and the enjoyment that we need. At some point, you are gonna have to raise taxes. Don't have a fear there. For us to enjoy the life that we've been able to have in Huntersville, it don't come free. So remember that. Make the hard decision on everything you all doing, and thank you for the job that you're doing.
Thank you, sir. Janelle Harris, you have 3 minutes.
All right. Happy President's Day to the mayor, the board, and everybody in attendance. My name is Janelle Harris, and I live at 14111 Holbrooks Road. While watching the streaming of the town retreat and seeing some updates on social media, I'm compelled to come and speak regarding Pottstown infrastructure. Mabambu Live, along with prominent other nonprofit organizations with ties to that community, wrote letters directly to Pete Buttigieg regarding the Rebuilding American Infrastructure and Sustainability and Equity, also known as the RAISE grant funding. We are still strong proponents of the funding and do hope the town will reapply. We also are happy to appeal to more organizations and residents in hopes that it'll push us from being in good standing to being granted the funds for Pottstown. As a resident, I'm becoming increasingly concerned about road closures and prolonging the road connections. Knowing the railroad is requiring either the road closure of Delwood Drive or Gibson Park crossings, and the delaying of the Church Street connection to Delwood and Holbrooks being delayed, the traffic on Holbrooks Road is already very congested, and we're starting to wonder where are we going to go. So, furthermore, please do not allow the sidewalk progress on Delwood Drive and Central Avenue to be shelved due to avoiding compensating landowners for their right-of-way use. Every time I speak to a resident and ask them why they're not jumping to the chance of seeing this project come to fruition, the consistent response is that we are a longstanding neighborhood and that there has never been so much concern about bringing sidewalks into our community until newer developments came. And seeing the taxes and costs of repairs and expenses rise exponentially, I have to agree. So now is the time to regard these facts and use those great raised funds to fairly acquire the land needed for these projects. The current efforts made by the county to spruce up Pottstown via the Torrance Lido and Pottstown Park meetings We will truly need the town to stay in stride with our infrastructure and safety and prayerfully be granted the $8.7 million to contribute in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Next, we have Christine Wallach. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address.
My name is Christine Wolack. I live at 14114 Whitney Hodges Drive. And something racist was said at the last town board meeting 2 weeks ago, and I just wanted to point it out and, hope that we can stop this. There was an item, R2306 was on the agenda, a proposal to rezone a property to accommodate a small business that included outdoor recreation. During the public comment section of the meeting, a resident said that he was against the rezoning and said something about basketball and not knowing what that would bring up from Charlotte. This is a racist dog whistle for young black men. This resident felt comfortable using this dog whistle out loud in public on the public record in this forum. And indeed, he was not challenged. This is not acceptable. It's not acceptable to me, and it shouldn't be acceptable to the board. I asked the board to be more proactive in identifying and addressing racist or other discriminatory language in public comments. Prior to today, the public comment policy only said that the speaker must be civil and courteous and not use personal attacks. It didn't address racism or other isms. I see that, saw that they've been updated. I applaud the board's speed in reviewing the language and updating the policy to cover this kind of language. I hope that going forward, this and other public meetings will feel more inclusive and be more productive because of this change. So, thank you.
And let's see, next we have Anna Rubin, and you have, and we have comments. John Uri, you've yielded 3 minutes to her. Okay, so you have 6 minutes, Ms. Rubin.
I won't use 6 minutes, I promise. I do feel like the squeaky wheel just a little bit, I'm gonna have to admit. But I do wanna say thank you for updating the public comment standards. And Madam Mayor, for discussing those today, because I think it's a privilege to come and talk to the board and share our concerns and comments. But it certainly should never be a platform for some of the circuses that have occurred over the last year. So I appreciate that you're allowing the opportunity for public comment. And I expect everyone to be respectful, but I appreciate you emphasizing that a little bit. And again, thank you for my time to talk today about the rezoning petition before you, R2311. I know I discussed my concerns at the public hearing, and then I attended the planning board meeting and discussed my concerns again. Then I sent you all a letter and discussed my concerns a third time. So I probably should just shut up and sit down, but I just wanted to reiterate one more time tonight how important I think the decision that you're making is setting precedent along that corridor. And that area is a town core. It's a community core in the 2040 plan. And that is a combination of a town core and a business center. And I think the decisions that you're starting to make about that are going to set precedent for how that whole area is going to be developed. And I think I don't have any problem with what's going in that area. I have a problem with the waiving of the buffers. You know, this area, the Dove family has owned for as long as I've lived here, almost 20 years. And I know they owned it way before I got here. And they have every right to sell that property and make the highest profit possible. But it's not a violation of their rights to uphold the town's ordinances and site design and architectural standards. You can do both. They can have the right to sell it, but we can also uphold the standards that we've put in place to protect the community. You know, if this property is sold to Morningstar by right, they can erect a 3-story building like they're erecting, but by right, it needs to sit 80 feet from McCord Road, it needs to sit 80 feet from 115, and it needs to sit 80 feet from the property to the south. And the rezoning petition tonight is just about the south side, because there's been an assumption that that buffer zone to the north and to the west should be automatically waived. And the decision to waive that is based on Article 4, Standards B and C. And I believe it's an inaccurate and it's a subjective decision that's been made, and there's too many variables for town staff to just simply waive it. I think that's a decision that is the board's and the board's alone to make, and that the decision you're making tonight to rezone also includes the full site plan for this Morningstar development. And so we can rezone the back part, but you need to uphold those standards because Article 4 has 4 parts. And the parts that were used to waive it are parts B and C. But parts A and D were completely disregarded. And I'm going to read those. A and D indicate that the structure to waive those zones, to waive those buffers, that the structure should perpetuate the unique building character of the environment, should be compatible to the historic architectural vocabulary of the area in their massing, should be designed to form a part of the larger composition of the area, and that adjacent buildings should be of similar scale and configuration. The proposed development does not meet these standards, and the required buffer yard should not be waived. This is a massive 3-story, 103,000 square foot building that, as proposed, will sit 28 feet from McCord Road and 28 feet from Highway 115. And that will tower over the small corner of this town. The proposed building is not neighborhood serving. It's not consistent with the building character of this area, and it is not similar to adjacent buildings. While the sites that sit directly north and east, they are industrial and warehouse in nature, but they are not gigantic buildings towering over the road. If you look at the church to the west side off of 115, it sits way back 80 feet from the road. It doesn't tower over that corner. If you look at that 84 lumber that sits directly to the east, if you drive by that, you barely know it's there. That's because it sits 80 feet from the road, because the board upheld the buffer yard standards when it approved it being built there, so that it could be business but not overtower and overpower the whole center of that town. And I think that's, even if you think of the warehouses that were just approved to be across the street on McCord, they're planned to be sitting 80 feet from the road. So my question is, why are those buffer yards upheld and this one not being upheld? The only thing that's going to cover the massing of this building is the buffer yards. And that's why those buffer yards are in place. That's the whole reason the town put them there, not to waive them automatically, but because in places like this, those buffer yards are needed. So please uphold these buffer yards when you look at this tonight. The city can provide full relief of those, but this building does not align with the requirements of Article 4 that would call for that. Again, the only thing that'll break up the massing of this development is the buffer yard. So I think we want to be able to have this property sold. I have no objection, but let's do it reasonably. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, we have Ashley Wiley. You have 3 minutes.
Hey, my name is Ashley Wiley. My address is 12435 Treasure Cove, Huntersville, North Carolina, 28078. Good evening, Board, Madam Mayor. I'd like to come to you tonight to tell you my last experience with Huntersville Police was positive. I know I have asked you for assistance in that matter, and I wanted to let you know it was good. That is amazing to be able to stand up here and tell you it was good. I have good relationships there. I want to keep those relationships good, and thank you for your assistance. Also, the next thing that I would like to bring to your attention is CMS. Our schools, they need help. We were told that they were going to be completed a lot faster than 2028 for North Mech. We don't even have a start date yet for Huntersville Elementary. And I don't know if y'all have noticed, but when it rains through the ceiling in Huntersville Elementary. Also, they're not running that weapons detection and violence system appropriately. Kids are figuring out the holes. I've told them where those holes are. They're not fixing it. They're not doing anything about it. If anything, they're making the problem worse. Drugs are getting in. It's bad. You're not getting told the full truth about how bad really is. You're having a whole bunch of different swatting threats, and you're also having a bunch of different issues that are coming up. It is horrible there. We've already had quite a few kids overdose, and CMS has still yet to even respond about that. Granted, they got the Narcan, but still. The last incident up at North Mech, thankfully Huntersville intervened and did get the weapons, but there's gonna start being more of that. They're not doing it right. I've told the COO, I've told CMS police chief multiple times. Chief Graham, I assure you, has probably tried to tell them, hey, what's going on here? And I don't know if you know this, but we can't see inside of CMS Police's computer database. They can see in ours, but we can't see in theirs. That's concerning. There's a new lawsuit also that states that they were discouraging reporting of sexual violence and assault. They are discouraging that. And I come to you tonight to hopefully come together so that way we can get to the real root of this issue. We can figure it out, and hopefully we can help. If they can't work together with us as a community, then we need to show them how a community can work with them. But we need to do this for our kids. Our kids are our future, and they need help.
All right. Do we have any changes to the agenda today? May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of adopting the agenda, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, thank you. And now may I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I would like to make the motion that we accept the consent agenda items for tonight's meeting.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, thank you. The consent agenda is passed. All right, and now we are on to 9A, the public hearing for the street name change petition for University City Church Drive, a request by Workmanship LLC. And we have Patrick Patterson, our presenter.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to put my staff report in the record for street name change petition from University City Church Drive to Ambassador Christian Way. The applicant is looking to rename University City Church Drive to Ambassador Christian Way. If you can't see it, there's a little arrow, shows you where that street is. The street is an access street to the new Ambassador Christian School campus. The street name change is to avoid confusion and assist travelers getting to campus. Here's the criteria that the town board shall consider when evaluating the proposed street name change. Planning staff recommends approval based on the petition, meeting the criteria set forth in the code of ordinances. Any questions?
Questions, anybody? Okay, thank you. Quick and easy. All right, and now we are on to item 10A, which is consider the decision on street name change petition for University City Church Drive. Do you have a motion for this item?
Yes, I make the motion to approve the street name change petition to change University City Church Drive to Ambassador Christian Way, a length of 0.14 miles, beginning at Sanford Road and dead ending.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, the street name change passes. Our next item is 10B. Consider a decision on petition R23-11 Morningstar Storage. Staff member Jesse James to present.
Thank you and good evening. And please enter my staff report into the record. So yes, 2311 Morningstar Storage. This is a conditional district rezoning for rezoning from SP and highway or special purpose and highway commercial districts to special purpose conditional district. Some of the updates from the public hearing. During the second review of this plan, the stormwater BMP that you see on the grading plan on the screen was actually within the 66-foot proposed buffer. Per staff comments and planning board conditions, that BMP has now moved to underground detention in the parking lot. That allows for the full 66-foot buffer to have vegetation in it. The number 2 item for updates, the applicant has agreed that solar panel incorporation and native plant incorporation into the site plan, they would be agreeable to with conditions for approval. And the third item on the public hearing, there was a 4 specimen tree save. Through review of the plans, the applicant has determined that the 4th tree, which is a 52-inch oak tree, will not be able to be saved, which makes the tree save for specimen trees meet the minimum of 30%. So 3 specimen trees out of 10 will be saved per the plan. As far as staff recommendations go, as far as land use policies LU 5.1 and T 5.1 in the set forth in the 2040 community plan, staff believes that the applicants have shown that they do meet those items, which are specific to site design and architectural standards of the building. However, we believe that the envisioned uses set forth in the 2040 plan, specifically LU1 and 6.3, have not been attained by the proposal. However, 3 of the 4 acres are currently special use district for zoning. So the acquisition of the 4th acre to accommodate the buffer yard, staff believes it is appropriate for the rezoning with the conditions that the that the proposal has for a 66-foot buffer through site design and staff reviewing of the plans. We believe that the 66-foot buffer meets the intent, which is the amount of plantings that would have taken place in an 80-foot buffer can be met, and that any other minor staff comments through review. We are on the 3rd review cycle, so there are a couple of minor staff comments that still may need to be addressed. From the planning board meeting, the planning board did recommend approval, 8-1 vote, with the condition that the BMP is moved out of the buffer area and put into the underground system of the parking lot, and that any minor staff review comments are corrected. So now we're moving to the decision. But before that, does anyone have any questions of me?
Can you or Jackie talk about the tax revenue from sales tax and property tax?
Hello, I would say the property tax impacts would be the change in what the property is valued at today and what it would be valued at full build-out. Our current tax rate is $17.60 per $100 of assessed valuation, so that increased value is how the town would benefit. Do recall that the tax bill is also going to have a county component on it as well. For purposes of sales tax, the most recent information that we have is that storage units are not subject to sales tax. Read you the specific implications about that if you need it, but that's the gist.
Any other questions? All right, now we have a motion. Nick, Commissioner Walsh.
I make a motion to deny the rezoning application R23-11. In considering the proposed rezoning application R2311, Morningstar Storage, the town board denies the application based on the plan being inconsistent with the envisioned uses set forth in the 2040 Huntersville Community Plan, sections LU1 and LU 6.3. It is not reasonable and not in the public interest to approve the rezoning plan because this development would not have a large employment base or match the encouraged development pattern or small-scale or neighborhood-serving commercial uses.
Do you have a second?
I second.
All in favor as the motion? Oh, sorry, discussion. I forget it every time, y'all. Any discussion? Okay.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say, I went back and forth on this one a lot. And, I went out to the site, I met with the current property owner, and, I fully respect his rights as an individual, to sell his property. For me, this came down to mainly two things, and that's the size of the building in that location on that lot, and what was on the staff report, that it's not consistent with the envisioned use. And so I will not be, I do support the denial, but I just wanted to kind of explain where I was at.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Walsh?
Yeah, I mean, in and of itself, it's probably not a bad plan, but I don't think we need any more storage units along Old Statesville Road. It's a very visible corner, and I think something like a restaurant, retail, or some other commercial use that would more broadly benefit the surrounding communities would be in order. I just think we could do better on that corner.
Any other discussion? Okay, if you are in favor of the motion as presented by Commissioner Walsh, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Now we have item 10C, petition R23-10, Commercial Communication Tower, a request by Berkeley Group 3. It's presented by Nathan Farber, staff.
Good evening. I'll submit my staff report into the record. So the applicant, Berkeley Group, and property owner Greenway Recycling are proposing to rezone 6 acres of TR and NR to special purpose with conditions for a commercial communication tower. The Vermilion subdivision is located to the north of the site, the landfill to the east and south, and vacant and residential properties to the west. And this is the focal point of the rezoning site plan. And I do want to point out a correction on the staff report. The applicants had made a change to their tree save. 100 of the 120 specimen trees will be saved, which is 83%, and the district requires a 30% tree save, specimen tree save. The planning board met on January 23rd and recommended approval with a vote of 9-0. And staff recommends approval because this is considered a public utility that helps communications coverage for both the general population and emergency services. And with that, we also recommend that a condition be added that all outstanding minor staff comments are addressed. And if you have any other questions.
Any questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve petition R2310 to rezone approximately 6 acres for commercial communications tower. In considering the proposed rezoning petition, the town board recommends approval based on the petition being consistent with the Huntersville 2040 Community Plan policies, lost my place, PS1, LU1, and the Holbrook Road Corridor Plan. It is reasonable and in the public interest to approve the rezoning petition because it is consistent with the envisioned use and development pattern set forth in the 2040 Community Plan, Holbrook Road Corridor Plan, and in keeping with the spirit of the ordinance. All outstanding planning staff comments shall be addressed by the applicant.
May I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented by Commissioner Bergson, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Now we are on 10D. Consider decision on petition TA 23-06, a request by Huntersville Planning Department to amend the zoning ordinance to comply with House Bill 488. Mr. Farber, you're up again.
Okay, I will submit my staff report into the record. And TA 2306 is a text amendment to comply with House Bill 488. House Bill 488 updates the NC Residential Code, updates the dollar thresholds for requiring a GC license for construction work, and provides alternative pavement design standards within developments. On October 5th, 2023, the HOAB board recommended approval with a vote of 4 to 2 to 1, with a recommendation that staff further review language related to items listed that generally require a building permit. Staff did look into this further and determined that the original language was sufficient. The planning board met on January 23rd, 2024, and made a motion to recommend approval with a revision to section 3.1, and that motion was approved. This is a side-by-side of the planning board and planning staff's recommendation from section 3. In the red, you can see the changes that the planning board recommended. Staff does recommend the original language that staff presented. And planning staff recommends approval based on consistency with all policies of the Huntersville 2040 Community Plan and compliance with state statutes. Any questions?
Questions? All right, may I have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt TA 23-06 as drafted by staff to comply with House Bill 488. The proposed amendment is consistent with the policies of the 2040 Community Plan and state statutes.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Our next item is 10E. Consider a decision on petition TA-2307, a request by Huntersville Planning Department to amend the zoning ordinance. Mr. Patterson.
Good evening. I'd like to put my staff report in the record for TA 23-07. Is showing different types of street networks. And in 2018, those images were removed with the adoption of the Engineering Standards and Procedures Manual, which replaced these images. The proposed ordinance change is to remove irrelevant text from Article 12 definition of interconnected that refers to those images. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, may I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve TA 23-07, a request by planning staff to update Article 12 of the zoning ordinance. In considering the proposed text amendment, the text amendment will provide clarification to the language of the zoning ordinance and is consistent with the 2040 Comprehensive Plan policies.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Now we are on 10F. We are considering appointing one member to the Huntersville Ordinance Advisory Board. So I will go down the line of commissioners and ask for your nomination, starting with Commissioner Bergsman.
Kathy Jones.
Commissioner Quarles.
Kathy Jones.
Commissioner Hunt.
Kathy Jones.
Commissioner Dumas.
Kathy Jones.
Commissioner Walsh.
Kathy Jones.
Commissioner Rivers.
Kathy Jones.
Okay, may I have an motion, please?
I'll make a motion to reappoint Kathy Jones to the Huntersville Ordinance Advisory Board.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Jones. Thank you for your service. We are now on to item 10G. consider adopting a final resolution that authorizes the limited obligation bonds, an official statement, and executes the debt contract and the deed for the trust of the new town hall. Patty McGinnis, please.
Yes, thank you. What you have before you is, as we stated on the February 5th board meeting, we would come back to the board for the final resolution of the terms of the limited obligation bonds. What this document does here is this document authorizes the staff to execute the document. The terms will be 20 years, and the net proceeds will be $30 million. The interest rate will be set by the LGC on March 6th. So that's what this does.
Any questions for Ms. McGinnis? May I have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the final resolution that authorizes the limited obligation bond statement and executes the debt contract and the deed of trust for the new town hall.
May I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Mayor. This evening, there will be 2 votes solidifying the building of a new town hall. While there is no dispute that we need a new building, I will not be supporting it. As I said during the last meeting, I'm not opposed to a new town hall. This one is just too expensive. About 3 years ago, the town board that I was a part of then set out to look at options for a new town hall. Without going into all the details, there was a public engagement process, and we reviewed multiple options. Ultimately, a $14 million solution that would have provided immediate and long-term needs was agreed upon. Funding for this option was discussed and considered. We were going to sell 3 existing town properties, including the current town hall, for about $5 million. That would leave us with about $9 million to finance. For some inexplicable reason, the last town board decided to scrap that plan and move to build their $30 million Tajma Town Hall. On the evening of September 6, 2022, the commissioner made a motion, and I quote, "to approve and fund option 4B," close quote. While the bill directive to staff was clear, there was no explanation on how to fund it. Tonight, this board bears the burden of directing staff to borrow $32 million to fund a new town hall building. During that same year, when the previous board created this $32 million expense, they cut the tax rate. That's right, they created debt while cutting the tax rate. Let me be clear tonight, that debt is going to be paid for by the taxpayers of Huntersville. There will be no choice but to raise taxes in the budget this spring to pay for our new $32 million town hall building.
Any other discussion?
I just want to revisit the numbers as I understand them. 14 million or 16 million I've heard in regards to the first town hall plan. And then an estimate today, if we were to go back to that plan, is 22 million, with a delay of potentially 2 years before we break ground, and an unknown of whether that 22 could potentially go up. The original plan wasn't a bad plan. I would have been in favor of it back then, but we are where we're at today. We have an opportunity to have a town hall that suits all of our needs for a long time, and yes, it is expensive. And we are where we're at. We're in a tough situation. I probably would have preferred the last design and expense, but I will be voting in favor of this today, as it is, with $2 million already spent and multiple hours, so many hours spent on this. Moving forward, 3 years of delay with constant increase in expense. I will be in favor of this.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Hunt?
I heard Commissioner Walsh say that some people might be not questioning, or sorry, they wouldn't be questioning that we need a new town hall, but I have heard people question that, so I wanted to address that briefly. I'd encourage anyone who thinks we don't need a town hall to come take a tour of this space. It's 8,000 square feet. Folks who question whether we need 54,000 square feet in the age of remote work should know that only a tiny fraction of employees work remotely. Town employees make Huntersville run. and without their dedication and professionalism, nothing would get done. We need to treat them like professionals and give them and future employees an appropriate place to work that doesn't shuffle them around from cubicle to cubicle like furniture. If someone is still skeptical about the need for a new town hall, I would encourage them to come to a board meeting when a topic of interest is on the agenda and see that residents are sitting in the lobby because there isn't enough space. If we want people to be involved and engaged in the civic process, and the current atmosphere is not conducive to that, a new town hall is essential, and the longer we wait to move forward, the more dire the situation becomes. If we continue to delay action, we will need to make emergency accommodations, costing everyone more time and money. We have heard that people will only invest in our downtown once the town hall issue is settled. The plan to build in town center is predicated on hypotheticals that could cost more time and money due to the unknown. However, the plan before us is fully fleshed out and has no unknown variables. A vote to delay and go back to the previous plan, which is no longer an option, but if we did, that would just hinder our progress. Previous boards have delayed progress enough, and I am unwilling to do that. I want to see our downtown thrive, so I support moving forward with the current plan.
Commissioner Quarles?
It was said from the dais that the previous two boards failed to move forward, and we also heard during public comments that heard the same. So we do have to make tough decisions, and taxes should have been raised some time ago. This decision should have been raised or completed some time ago. So we need to move forward with a 50-year plan. This new town hall will have a 50-year lifespan. I don't think any of us will be here in the next 50 years. I think it's being good stewards if we move forward and not prolong this and pass it on to further boards in the future. So I will be making a tough decision this evening and supporting this.
Commissioner Bergman?
Like some of my colleagues have said, for me, it's about moving forward. You know, I'm not here to criticize or get into a big debate about what previous boards have done. Those decisions have been made, and I personally feel that it's best for our community to continue to move forward with this particular decision. So as I've said at our past meetings and tonight, I support that. And I just want to remind, I don't remember if it was our planning retreat or our last meeting, but our town manager had mentioned that we're out of space for staff. And you came up with, you know, one idea that maybe we have room for someone that could fit out in the lobby off to the right. So just as you're leaving tonight, I want you to take a look at that space. You know, talking about we don't have enough room for our residents to come and sit in at meetings, and we also don't have enough space to add to our staff as our community continues to grow.
Any other comments? Commissioner Rivers?
Thank you. As a native here, growing up, I remember this space being our local post office. And it was already a small spot then where people could not even park. There was not available parking spots. So when this town hall was created, it was created for that time. But what we have to look at is the now and the need for the now. So I am in favor of this project. I think it is important. I think that we need to have our staff together. And like many of my colleagues have said, coming into our meetings, not having enough space, people sitting outside, that's not good customer service for our constituents and for our residents. So I am in favor of this project. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, may I have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the final resolution that authorizes the limited obligation bond statement and executes the debt contract and the deed of trust for the new town hall.
May I have a second?
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Thank you. And we are on to item 10H, adopting the construction contract for the new town hall project. Ms. Sloop.
Yes, good evening, Board. You have in the agenda package a construction contract that incorporates the previously approved GMP for the project. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions? No questions. All right. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the construction contract for the new town hall project with Edifice LLC.
May I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, and last we have 11 closing comments. Sure. Commissioner Bergsman.
All right, I've got a bit from Visit Lake Norman, but I am going to try to keep it as brief as possible. So just a few events coming up recently. You might not be aware that Lake Norman is a regular host of major league fishing tournaments. The Bass Fishing League tournament is coming to Huntersville this weekend. It will be held Saturday, February 24th, and there will be more than 300 anglers fishing in the tournament at Blythe Landing. The Carolina Bass Challenge Fishing Tournament will be held on March 2nd, also at Blythe Landing. Huntersville is also going to be helping to host the Chick-fil-A Race City Classic Youth Soccer Tournament the first weekend in March. Games will be held at Richard Berry Park, Bradford Park, as well as Bailey Road Park in Cornelius. So if you plan on going to one of our parks that weekend, you may want to be aware that there may be a shortage of parking. Finally, the Fairy House Festival returns to the Latta Nature Preserve this Saturday, February 24th from 10 to 3, and you can find out more information about these events and more at visitlakenorman.org.
Just a reminder that primary early voting has started. It started on February 15th and ends on March the 2nd. So please go out and exercise your right to vote.
Commissioner Hunt? Commissioner Demas? Commissioner Walsh? Commissioner Rivers?
Yes. First, I would like to make a community announcement. On this Saturday, February 24th at 3:00 p.m., the Pottstown Heritage Group, which is a local nonprofit organization, is hosting their very first annual fundraising event. It is Flannel and Fun Chili Cook-Off. And the Chili Cook-Off winner gets not only bragging rights, but they also get a grand prize of $250. But there are also prizes for those that are coming to take part in the festivities. So this will be held at the 760 Craftworks. And also tonight, in lieu of Black History Month, I wanted to leave everyone with this thought by the great Desmond Tutu. My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together. How good and pleasant it is when brothers live together in unity. We all live with the objective of being happy. Our lives are all different and yet the same. Sticks in a bundle are unbreakable. Thank you.
All right, any other comments? All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Good job.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Oh, wait, all in favor.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thank you. Thank you, we're adjourned.
All in favor.